Hello, welcome back to Deal and Crashout. Today I'll be talking about problems and problem solving, which is a problem, which is crazy coming from me, a CS major, but it's mostly to do with monetization. And what do I mean by that? So, let's say you're a pharmaceutical company and you want to get the most amount of money for selling pharmaceuticals. Do you A, select the cure it all miracle drug in which you can fix someone's problem immediately and you pay a really, really steep price for it, or you really, really charge it up? Or do you have something which is more accessible at a lower price and it doesn't solve the person's problem, but it addresses all the symptoms, but they have to keep taking it in order to adjust all the symptoms? And anyone would say that, oh, you should sell the miracle drug, right? Because it can actually solve the person's problem, and then you're happy because your miracle drug is really expensive, or it might not be easy to produce, but you can mark it up really high because nobody else sells a miracle drug, and it solves a problem, and everyone's happy. But if you think about it in terms of an economic standpoint, your miracle drug might not be accessible to that many people because you have to mark up highly in order to make a profit off of it. Also, there's all sorts of problems out there, like big and small, from a cold or a flu to allergies to cancer, right? So, if you had to sell the same miracle drug for everything, most people are just gonna thug out the allergies or what I just say, the flu or the cold, and then only buy the miracle drug for the big things like the cancer. So, it may not sell as much as you actually wanted to, even if you magically had a miracle drug. Meanwhile, if you make a treatment more affordable or you make it necessary, there is no miracle drug, but you can always address the symptoms and you can make it cheaper relative to the problem. Let's say, you have cold medicine for a cold or you have a chemotherapy for cancer. Well, then you have a profitable business because not only does the problem not get solved, but you're only addressing the symptoms. And then you can perpetually sell the item because you'll always have business. And it also is more accessible, so it's more likely that you're going to get more sales. And then it becomes a distribution problem instead of actually solving the problem itself. Now, there's a special case for cold medicine where, generally speaking, like there's so many strands of colds and flu. Colds, you kind of just get them. It's your immune system whacking out. But flu in particular, like an actual virus, is there's so many forms of it. Same thing with like an infection or bacteria. And if you get it, your body is better at fighting it off than somebody having to curate a solution for it every single time. So it is just addressing the symptoms so your body can actually allocate its resources to fighting against the problem, which is completely normal, and that's fair. But cancer, on the other hand, it's like subscription service. Like everything's a subscription nowadays, and people want you to subscribe to the item so they can get payment perpetually, right? It's like if you have $25 for the rest of your life, or if you have one payment of $100, maybe not everyone keeps a subscription for 4 years, and then you get your $100, or they keep it for 30 years, and then you get way more than the original 25 that you paid for. So that idea of a lifetime changes. Right, a subscription is a better model, generally speaking, economically than just selling a good or service that is used once. Right, the same thing why we're so addicted to coffee and why there's so many coffee shops, because it's a good brand. It's a good deal for people who sell coffee, and you like the coffee. It makes you feel good, so you keep getting it, and then it becomes saturated like that. So this, if it was not already obvious, is my big analogy for problem solving. Do you want to A, actually solve the problem, or B, somewhat solve the problem and allow you to continually sell the solution? And this is true for most products, right? Like the big boom for AI and LLMs isn't just about the fact that it can make your work easier and it increases your workflow, but because it can adapt to so many different types of work that you can resell that solution again and again and again, right? You don't have to worry about people needing coffee or needing the tool. It's the fact that if you make the tool good enough, not using the tool becomes obsolete. So if you make a cure for cancer, then people who actually have cancer are no longer good business, right? You solve their problem and then they never come back to the hospital until like they're on their deathbed, which is not nearly as often as people who just get cancer. Well, I guess people die a lot. That's a bad example, but you know what I mean. All of that is to say that selling solutions to problems is not words. Selling solutions to problems, as in perpetually, is not as profitable as selling solutions to individual problems that arise. So, for a coding example, this might be debugging your code is going to be more profitable than somebody just giving you the code, which is already done, right? I now have somebody who can always debug your code, or you do debugging code on commission. That just might telling you how you should debug your code might be something called quality assurance, and then actually debugging the code falls back on the software engineer. Or if you are in the stream of consciousness is bad today, y'all. I picked something that I thought it would be easy to talk about, and the thoughts are not flowing. But problems and selling solutions to those problems, generally speaking, is more profitable than selling solutions to all of the problems. And that's something that you can earnestly think about as a business model. It's the same thing of how, not the same, but optimization is going to be everywhere. If you are a business and you hire a bunch of people and now all your problems are solved, you're like, yay, let's see how the minimum amount of people that I need in order to solve the problem, because it saves me money. That's part of the game, but people get hired and they expect to stay, and then they get layoffs, and then they're really sad. And people are like, screw big business for this, but they're just trying to turn a profit the same way that I try to not buy expensive things and I shop at Costco, right? And you buy things in bulk. Similar principle. So people are trying to make money, and people just want to get the most money so they can live a nicer life. And wealth disparity, generally speaking, comes at the cost of someone. So this comes back to an idea which I think I mentioned a very long time ago about you should do things that are win-wins. Unfortunately, the coffee subscription service is a great example of a win-win. People get their coffee, they're happy. People make the coffee, they're happy because they get the money from the coffee, and then it's a win-win. You sell a service like an LLM and you host compute, and it's good. A lot of people get displaced from the jobs because they become obsolete, because it's easier to do the work that used to be had to share it over a lot of individuals. But now you need less people to do the same jobs, and you open up more opportunities as well. You host compute and other people get to do the job easier. Somewhat a win-win. This is an idea called technological progressivism, and it is to say that this idea of ingenuity, we always want to make the best possible technology, because there's either the breaking point where humans need not apply, or there is the developmental point where humanity progresses from better technology, even if that is at the expense of other parts of humanity. Surely ingenuity comes along and opens up new job opportunities, and we repeat the cycle. It's the development of, originally we had people traveling on foot, and then we had horses, so you need less people to travel together, right? You don't need as many long trains of people. Now you can have wagons and you still have the trails and the pathways, or then you develop it to, okay, now we have cars, and now the horses kind of become obsolete, but you have people driving, and you have more jobs opening up because of factories, instead of people who are raising and breeding horses and making for food for horses and making trails. Now you're making roads, and now you have more construction workers, and then the cars get modernized, and you get public transit on top of that, and the training cars are on a relatively similar timeline. And I'm hearing things. And then you develop that again, and you get planes, and you still have the cars and the trains, but now you have more transit, and you have more people, and you have more people making the planes. You have the people who actually run the planes, and then you have things like AI. And yes, it displaces a lot of people from jobs, because hey, you don't get to actually do this job, because we found something which can automate it for you, that it never gets tired and keeps on working. Same thing that robotics does. But maybe that opens up more opportunities for people to leverage these materials and make new things with it. And that is the hope with AI, or artificial intelligence, and these big LLMs, or large language models, and other forms of simulating what humans do in automation. It's the same thing as when people did robotics and now they automated machine lines, but now we're upgrading to cognition, which is a pretty significant jump. If, to say the least, it is a big jump away from, we now had things that automate human labor to things that automate human labor, the thinking. At the moment, you still need people to actually use the tools, and people who are really well versed in their area can validate how good the tools are, because the limit is in big data. Okay, this is slowly turning into a CS rant, representative of the large amount of CS that I've been doing. But it's not going anywhere. And hopefully the ingenuity is in people learning to leverage and adopt these AI tools and use them for themselves. And the other problem of it, same thing of how, no, now people are out of horse business, or people are out of, like, seafarer wasn't as popular after people developed planes. So, pros and cons. But people can travel so much faster. People can do work so much faster. But the people who, you needed these really large teams to develop these large scale applications. Now everyone and their mom is doing is becoming a founder or a CEO and making a startup and trying to break into YC. And not only is that saturating the market elsewhere, but it's like, oh no, there's no more jobs. I'm just going to make my own. And while other people are getting laid off as a consequence of it, and the cognition or the lower level jobs or people who can't adapt to these tools, right? They may not have access to the technology. They might have a wealth disparity, right? A lot of these are based off subscription, based off of usage. The free options are still good, but still not as good as paid options. And so is there limits in compute, and then also network. I was about to say insemination, but I should say how deep the infrastructure goes. The bottom line is, third world countries are suffering in the technology race because they are way behind the countries that can leverage these tools, and that is disparity. And what you could argue is bad, right? That doesn't promote ingenuity, that doesn't give more people more jobs, that just takes away from people. But then you come to the other side of the argument, which might be, why would you want people to do jobs that can be automated, like, when they can do other things? And the answer is, they don't get fed. We don't have universal basic income. We have people who are hungry and people who have way too much food. So you could argue against the economic model, and that would be addressing the root cause. But that is another caveat of problem solving. I somehow completely just got away from the entire point of the video. It's that monetization and profit do not necessarily promote people getting more, right? It's not about solving problems. It's about barely solving the problems and making them last as long as possible so you can milk the most money out of the people who need the solutions. It's the same thing as the attention space right now. Do you want... It went from things that I want to watch and I'm curating it to, oh, I have to watch this as I'm scrolling on Instagram and I want to scroll the next reel and the next reel and the next reel. And that's just them doing what's best, right? You get more advertisers, you get more views, you get more money from people spending more time on your application. And this addiction is not necessarily their fault, even if they enable it, right? You put a rat in a cage and you give it cocaine water and normal water, it's gonna take the cocaine water. Similar experiment. You put someone in a room with their thoughts and a button that you tell them it's going to shock them, and people are just gonna shock themselves to the button the majority of the time instead of just sit there and be alone with their thoughts. And that is, I forgot the whole point of this. But the bottom line is, even if you enable somebody to do something in this way, the people are still responsible for their actions and responsible use, right? Like, alcohol is poison. Caffeine is a poison for bugs. And marijuana decreases your dopamine centers and your response and your ability to regulate and normalize your behavior. But so many people do it. It's like, okay, I'm going to unlock this and regulate it instead of just letting people do whatever they want to do. And that is the balance that people come to. And that's just the unfortunate reality of it, where people are going to utilize the things that are in front of them because it is easy, because it is convenient, and hooking people on problems. As long as it's not too bad, then it's okay, and then I profit from it, and yay, everything's good in life. So yeah, I'm not thinking today. I probably shouldn't upload this, but I'm going to because I feel like it. And this is why you should sleep, people out there. Sleep is important. Sleep is good for you. Beware of people controlling you in your environment. Do not let the problems solve you. Try to solve the problems. Try to prevent the problems from coming. I wrote this because I saw something that... if it's not obvious, I clearly just talk into the microphone. But there is a thing out there about medicine and problems being reactionary. A problem comes up, I debug it, I fix it. And that's an unfortunate business model, which is makes sense, right? And it's like, why would I solve a problem that I don't know exists? But on the other hand, it also means that more people will have to consistently deal with problems and then run around looking for solutions for the price of convenience and also profit. So take it with a grain of salt. That is just how the world is, because it is easier that way, right? How did I know that I wasn't supposed to do this thing if I never knew that I wasn't supposed to do that thing? But at the same time, sometimes other people know better and they could control to do better, but it's not their responsibility to control other people's lives. Okay, there's today's conversational slop. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll probably remake this video, but I'll upload it for now. Okay, bye-bye.